Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Redman and welcome to another episode of Pastor's Library. This is the channel where we discuss everything to do with theology books that might be on a reading list for your seminary course or for a bachelor's or master's degree in biblical studies or theology, or perhaps just books that you've seen in your pastor's office or have just sort of been drawn to online. And I would try and help and guide you through the choice. But of the making of many books, as Solomon says, there is no end. And no one has ever got a library big enough to have everything. So I am going to refer to you today mainly out of my own library and my own experience, which I hope helps you. If it does, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Please subscribe and click on the bell, because what that does is it helps the channel propagate itself, and ringing the bell just makes sure that you will be notified when we launch another episode. So, as a special request today, I have been asked to talk about commentaries on the book of Proverbs. Now, as a pastor, I meet lots of other pastors who tell me that Proverbs is one of the most special books in the Bible to them. Well, I love all the books in the Bible, but I have to say I don't have a particular fondness for Proverbs above anything else. But I do see the wisdom that it contains. And I've often followed Bible reading programs where you've had maybe 2 or 3 chapters from the Old Testament and 1 or 2 chapters from the New Testament, a psalm and a small passage of Proverbs every day. And I've often found that that was a very good method to follow. It always worked for me. Well, today we're going to look at books that will give us a little bit more background onto the book of Proverbs. And I haven't particularly picked these out in any order. You will notice, if you've looked at any other videos on books by me, that I don't have as many copies of commentaries on the book of Proverbs, but what I have, I'm going to go through with you. What I would say is that this book is a good place to start. It's the 2023 release from the Cambridge Old Testament Theology series, which is not even broadly out yet. I think there's about 3 or 4 volumes out there. But this is a 211-page overview of the theology in the book of Proverbs. What I would say about this book in particular is that it does engage with a lot of older authors. I'm talking of stuff that's over 100 years old. And I found that initially a little bit hard to get into, because when I did my master's degree in theology, it was drummed into me, you need to be looking at the last 30 years, you need to be looking at current stuff, you need to be looking at the journals. And I sort of found this a little bit stodgy to begin with. But the further I got into it, with persistence, came the real value of it. And what I would say is that if for nothing else, it's well worth reading Catherine's views on commentaries that are available. And she put me on to 2 that I haven't got here today with me, but 2 that are well worth engaging with. Christine Yoder wrote the Abingdon Old Testament commentary on Proverbs. Now, I really do like her stuff, and it's a very, very good commentary. 2009, 350 pages. Really worthwhile, and whereas I haven't got one to show you, it is a brilliant piece of work. The other one, which I haven't got to show you either, is the Baker Old Testament commentary by Tremper Longman III. And you will say to me, well, anything that Tremper writes is good, and basically they are. But this was a 2006 publication, 608 pages. It's a stomper. It's really good. It's also actually quite good value for price if you buy it in the new paperback version. So those are two that I haven't got on my shelf but are very, very good. So going on from that, the next two that I've got are volumes that you don't hear me talk about very much. One of them is the Brazos theological commentary on Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. It's by Daniel Treyer. This is a 2011 book. The first 115 pages are about Proverbs. Because this is Proverbs and Ecclesiastes in one volume, the advantage is it gives you an overview of two of the wisdom books. The disadvantage is the very, very much lower level of detail, whereas I wouldn't sing and dance about it. And I've already said to you, I don't normally rave about this series. I mean, I've probably got about 8 of them on my bookshelves, but this one did offer me some ideas which I didn't pick up elsewhere, so I felt it was worth mentioning to you. The interpretation series are great largely for pastors and Bible group leaders, but this one by Leo Perdue, the Proverbs one, 289 pages, published in 2012. This one is outstanding amongst the range of interpretation. You will have heard me from time to time rave about Terence Fretheim's volume and Walter Brueggemann's volume, and there are various Old Testament volumes that are really good, but I would have to say to you this is one of them. It's a very well worth guide and probably one of the cheaper ones that you would be able to pick up, which makes it especially valuable on your bookshelf. So that is not to be ignored by any means. Now, another multi-commentary in one volume is volume 5 of the New Interpreter's Bible. This has an introduction to wisdom literature, followed by full commentaries on Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon's, and the wisdom of Sirach. Now, this is all very, very good. It's not a cheap volume, but it is individual commentaries all bound together on all of those books. And you have to put that into your consideration of its value for money. And this was published in 1997, which does mean it's getting near to that sort of 30-year zone. But 247 pages of this are written by Raymond van Leeuwen, who does the Proverbs commentary. And I have to say, Van Leeuwen's very good indeed. Now, this is a commentary that's well worth reading. And because in here are also good commentaries of those other wisdom books that I mentioned to you, then this is an obvious choice to fill a gap. If, like me, you're probably leaning a little bit lower on your stock of commentaries on the wisdom literature, then this is a particularly good one to add. I found him very insightful. I found it stimulating reading. The layout's good. The page size and the font size are good. I found this was to be an excellent volume. And as much as we're on 2024 when I'm filming this, and this is a 1997 book, and it's getting a little bit not as fresh as some of the ones that are out there, I still think it's a great volume to buy. Now, I'm going to talk now about that top group. I am probably going to give you a stab at what I think is the best Proverbs commentary in my library, and probably one of the best ones that's ever been made to the point of today. But all of the rest of these, I would put almost at a level pegging. The New Beacon Bible Commentary, written by John Hartley, there's a well-known name. This is published by a great team at Beacon Hill Press, and it's written by a fabulous Old Testament author, a man who's offered us other great commentaries, but this one on Proverbs follows his pedigree, and it delivers to us an absolutely brilliant piece of work. 2016 published, 334 pages. This gives you a lot of detail. The layout of this series are all very good. And for example, I was particularly caught by a sort of an inset talking about Hesed on page 169, where Hesed is used negatively. Now, we're always used to it being used positively, kindness, loyalty, mercy. But here it's used for disgrace by being applied negatively. The unusual use of a word in a negative way, I found an interesting aside, and to be honest with you, Hartley has a lot of them in here. A lot of interesting asides, a lot of very worthwhile comments, and I suppose if I was running away to do a week's teaching on the book of Proverbs, I would grab this to take with me anyway, because it really is exceptional. The NIVAC series is very popular with pastors these days, and overall it is a very good series. But I have to say, the Proverbs one, which is by Paul Koptak, I found that to be particularly helpful. The NIVAC series of commentaries do lean towards having an application for every passage. And one good friend of mine, another preacher in the city of York, he always says to me, "Stephen, unless you've got an application, you may as well not bother starting to preach." And I know that he's got a fair degree of truth in that. And this commentary will assure you that you find applications. I just think that Proverbs is difficult to manage. You know, it's easy when you're reading about Jesus or reading about Paul or even reading about Abraham or Joseph or David. But here we're talking about concepts. We're talking about collections of information that have been pulled together by people throughout the years in Israel, a lot of them perhaps in the court of Solomon, and they are there for us to give us an example of the level of wisdom that was used in that nation at that time. And a lot of it, of course, is stuff that we just have to relearn if we won't read it. And relearning it can sometimes be a very costly exercise. So reading Proverbs is in fact quite important. So this is a great book, published in 2003, a little over 700 pages. This has a lot to offer. Now, word biblical commentaries are always a favourite of mine, even though they lack terrible amounts of thoughtfulness in their layout. But this is Roland Murphy's work. Now, I'm a bit of a fan of Roland Murphy. I think he offers a lot, and this was a 1998 publication, 306 pages, and it's very technical. I think technical commentaries, if you are a thinking pastor, if you are a student at university or seminary, I think technical commentaries have a great place, and we should honour the people that are able to produce one for us. Murphy really has something here. I think that, again, whereas, this is only maybe four years off the 30-year-old mark, this is an excellent piece of work. It's maybe not as outstanding as other volumes in the series, but anything that Roland Murphy writes should not be ignored. You should consult it. Now, this one was 2017. It's The Story of God. It's 469 pages, and it's by Ryan O'Dowd. Now, I am very, very fond of the story element of this series of commentaries, that they try to continue the story of God. It tries to draw out themes and follow them through the book. and it tries to link those themes to other parts of the Bible. And these are well-made hardbound books with a huge attention paid to layout, and font size is good. Every time you read a passage, it explains the story. It talks about how you live out the story, if you like, maybe giving you an application. But I really like this book. I think this is excellent. I think it's up there, for me, this is up there in the top 3. All of the ones I've just shown you, and I'm about to conclude with, are all excellent volumes. I could have mentioned a few others, which I don't think are. So these I think are very good. This is a very new one. What I would say is I think it lacks in bibliography. It doesn't really have a very clear bibliography. It hasn't got one you can just turn to. And I think that's a lack in the book. Now, I suppose the New Beacon Bible commentary, of those I've talked to you about, is the one I would grab for. But in a fire, I would also grab for these two. This is the 2 volumes in the NICOT, the New International Commentary on the Old Testament. It's written by Bruce Waltke, if that's how it's pronounced. If not, Bruce, forgive me. These are very, very good. In the first book I showed you by Catherine Dell, she says how these are from a Reformed tradition. And certainly I get that vibe from them, and I am not from a Reformed tradition, but I still get an awful lot from these 2 volumes. The level of detail, the level of academic work that has gone into these, it places them right at the top of the tree. And whereas buying the 2 of these is not cheap, you will at least have 2 volumes that are really up to date and delivering a broad academic quality, which is excellent. The second volume was published in 2005, I think. These are volumes that have over 500 pages each, and they offer you a great deal of detail. So I suppose I would look to these as my high detail volumes. But for the sheer inspiration and oversight, I do like the New Beacon Bible commentary on this. To me, it's so accessible. Whereas I haven't got one on the shelf today, Yoda's Abingdon commentary I also found to be very, very helpful indeed. And all of these, to me, have a wealth of input from true academics that are delivering the goods. And I think ultimately that's as much as we can say. So if you had 1 or 2 of these on your bookshelf, I would think that you would be doing well. Personally, I feel the benefit of having access to some commentaries on the book of Proverbs. Sometimes I find it very difficult to get real inspiration from this book, as much as the wisdom of it is obvious. And I find being able to stand on the shoulders of true academics by delving into the work that they have already done, not only is that good common sense, I think it's a real advantage, and I'm very pleased to live in the day that I do, that I have access to these. So I hope that's helped you. If it has, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe and ring on the bell. And why not tell all your friends about the channel? It would be lovely to have comments from you in the notes below also. So until next time, I hope this has helped you, and goodbye and God bless. Bye!